My dad is one of the highest paid nutritionists in all of California.
My dad's one of the highest paid nutritionists in all of Florida.
My dad's the highest paid black nutritionist.
My dad is the highest paid nutritionist.
My dad is one of the highest paying nutritionists.
Dad's the highest paid nutritionist.
The highest paid nutritionist.
Highest paid nutritionist.
This dad has a lot of children.
It is so weird. It is creepy. It is a creepy thing. Just like so dystopic. These people have sold their soul. They'll say anything.
Because they poorly executed an influencer campaign, it turns you off.
It's just like the grossest part of marketing. It's the grossest way to market. I choose not to be involved in that. Like, I don't want any part of that.
I spent 5 years as the hidden mistress of a Qatar prince, so he gifted me Obvi Collagenic Elite so I could lose weight effortlessly.
Obvi makes a lot of AI ads that position themselves against Ozempic a lot. And they use a lot of like fear tactics. Generally, their marketing is fear-based and icky. Alex Greifeld, she said, this ad is why I prefer to think of marketing as a long-term multi-round game, because if you choose to think of it as a short-term one-round game, then you're competing against people who are willing to lie and break the law. And if you think of business, and if you think of marketing in particular as having to last for a really long time, then eventually you can outlast people who will probably go to jail. Is this the end of the world as we know it?
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Is this where we have to acquire the license to It's the End of the World as we know it, Brian? The song?
It's too rich for our blood. It's more than 5 figures. That's for
sure. Do the kids know that song? I don't think the kids know
so.
That song.
R.E.M. You realize R.E.M. was like the biggest band in the world for like 6 months.
They still play that song. That song gets played.
Yeah.
For 6 months.
Good song.
He's for 6 months. The first time I ever heard that song, I'm dating myself right now. The first time I ever heard that song was when it played during an episode of Beverly Hills 90210.
I think the first time I heard that song, was it on Independence Day? I feel like it was on the Independence Day.
Oh, it had to have
soundtrack.
been Independence Day soundtrack. All right. I have to call on producer Sarah. Do you remember this song? Sarah, do you remember that song at all? Is that a thing?
It's the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like it's the end of the world?
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yep.
Do you remember?
But I couldn't tell you who sings it or where it's from.
REM sings it. It's from a very old bygone era before the internet. Yeah. Okay.
Internet was but a twinkle in Bill Gates' eye, or Al Gore's eye.
Al Gore's eye. All right. Well, today it is the end of the world. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff that signals and portends at least 2 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We have a collagen brand who is, I think, probably going to bring upon us at least some form of regulation in AI and advertising, if not their own FTC can of whoop ass at some point. We'll talk about what Obvi is doing to make everybody angry, if not possibly end the world as we know it. We're going to have that a little later on in the show. But also, meanwhile, on TikTok Shop, Brian, that platform is really ruining what used to be a really cool social platform for a lot of creators. Really dystopic stuff happening on TikTok Shop. We'll cover that in just a little bit.
How much would you sell your soul for?
For at least 1 packet of lemon balm tea.
At least 5 figures.
I'll do some of that, and then we'll cover some of that. I don't know if you know this, Brian, but my dad was the highest paid nutritionist of all of California, and no one believes me when I tell them that the next thing you need to buy is your very own copy of our brand new book. It's called Lore. I need to clean my desk. Holy cow. It's called Lore. It's our newest journal from Future Commerce Press, and this is a beautiful 280-page journal. I'm going to zoom in here so you don't see my desk. Look at this thing. 280 pages, gorgeous. Brian, you and I put this together with the entire team. It's taken us, it's an incredible labor of love.
Team effort.
Over a year. Look at this thing with our friends. 14 months, 14 authors. That's no coincidence. 1 month per author. No. And it is probably the most incredible piece of prose that's ever been put together. I'll come up to the main camera here on our YouTube. And I think this clocks in this year at almost 100,000 words, 80-ish thousand, 90-ish thousand. This is covering everything that is legend, lore, myth, mythology, the things that are the real underpinnings of what makes a brand and what makes commerce, not just the infrastructure, but the actual abstract forms behind the world as we know it. The world as we know it. Lore.
It's a masterpiece.
It is a masterpiece, and it deserves a place on your coffee table. This is how I've been saying it is in a world of ones and zeros that expire and get archived in your inbox, or maybe live in a tab like Brian Lang for months on end and never get looked at ever again.
Whole worlds.
Entire worlds go missing in tabs in Brian Lang's Google Chrome. In that world, why not have something that lives on your coffee table forever? You can get it for $75 right now at Future Commerce Press, futurecommerce.com/lore. Go get it. And that will help you to see the world a little differently. And would love for you to go get that. Shipping today, worldwide, 200 countries. Maybe even Qatar. I don't know if they allow such a thing into that country. We'll get there. We'll get there. There's something to talk about there later in the show. Also later in the show, we're going to talk about our time at eTail. Speaking of deserts, we went out to the desert, had a little time in the trade show industry, had a great time, actually, Brian.
Actually, this is the best eTail there's ever been. It was the biggest and the best, I would say.
Yeah. We'll do a little bit of that. Did you see this video that made the rounds? Steph Liu, e-commerce queen on TikTok. She had this sort of like compilation video. I'm going to roll it here in just a second. I'll set it up for everybody. TikTok Shop. The way TikTok Shop works for everybody who should know in the e-commerce industry, but for those unaffiliated, you as a brand can sign up for TikTok Shop. You can incentivize creators with an offer, right, to receive product and to become paid as an affiliate. And part of that affiliate deal includes sometimes a script that you can read and some instructions that go along with that script. And sometimes the offer is too good to pass up. And then you wind up with way too many creators doing too much of the same exact thing. And this is what Steph caught on her For You page. Sarah, roll the clip.
My dad is one of the highest paid nutritionists.
Dad's one of the highest paid nutritionists
in California, yet no one believes him when he says these things.
My dad is the highest
My dad is one of the highest paying nutritionists, yet nobody believes him when he says these things.
paid nutrition.
My dad was the highest paid nutritionist in 2024, and still nobody believes him when he tells them.
My dad is one of the highest paid nutritionists in all of California, yet for some reason, nobody believes him when he says these things.
Okay, this person's dad is either Elon Musk. This dad has a lot of children.
Either that or somebody has a lot of different voices that they can do.
Yeah. So the conceit of the video is giving like quasi health advice via a fictitious dad while chopping vegetables.
It is so weird. It is creepy. It is a creepy thing that there's so many videos with this. Like that, I know it's an ad, obviously. It's just like so dystopic. These people have sold their soul. They'll say anything. They will say anything. Whatever their sponsors tell them to say, they will say it.
It's really weird seeing it all. Like when you see it out of context, any one person doing it, you're like, okay, this person's preparing a meal and they're giving you a bunch of like weird life advice and health advice. And then they drop some random thing about, there's some weird non sequitur always about, you have to do all these things like, ancient Chinese medicine and techniques that will change your life, and then some of them will mention the product, not all of them. One person in particular, kind of hints that, nobody ever asks me. If only they would ask me what to do. And then the comments blow up like, what's the product? Tell me the product. And she's like, oh, it's lemon balm tea. And then I'm like, aha!
There's the ad.
There's the ad. I know exactly what the issue is. And you've seen this before. There's a kind of a product, Brian, where you know the label. Like you've seen it in Whole Foods, right? Or you've seen it in the grocery aisle, but you may not like brand name wise, you may not connect it. Lemon Balm tea is one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
I 100% have seen lemon balm tea at the grocery store before, and I will never buy it ever again.
Because they poorly executed an influencer campaign. It turns you off.
It's just like the grossest part of marketing. It's the grossest way to market. I choose not to be involved in that. Like, I don't want any part of that. I'm sure I have bought a product where people have used unscrupulous ways of marketing before, but like this is scrupulous ways of marketing.
Unscrupulous, re-scrupulous,
extra scrupulous.
Yeah. I think what's really sad about this is you don't really realize the scale of influencer economy dynamics until you see so much of the exact same creative in context. This is not abnormal. Like this happens every day.
Totally. This is why people should
this
not
is happening
be
all the
paying
time.
attention to social. Like social is bought and paid for and sold, and you should get off of it altogether. Like that's my 2 cents. The broader like social platforms. I mean, there's hardly any real people on Twitter. There's hardly any real people on TikTok. Like even if they're real people, like they're being bought and paid for. In fact, I would argue that there are more real people. This is how bad it is. There are more real people on on Twitter than there are on TikTok, which is saying something because Twitter's kind of a nightmare right now.
I don't know that I agree with that. I understand the sentiment of it. My Twitter is 99% bots, which I think it has always been 99% bots, but it's pretty egregious. LinkedIn comments are wildly chat GPT, and like a very specific type of chat GPT now.
Yes.
Like an overly verbose, weirdly.
The thing is, those are real people posting those. That's the funny
Do you
thing.
think so? I don't know about that.
I actually believe this. This is people are just clicking the AI. Like people are extending themselves on LinkedIn now. They're just like comment because it's so easy to add a little comment and like it boosts your engagement and people are following the algorithm. So it's way too easy to just add comments to people's, new job posts or whatever, like, conference recap posts they have. So
this is such an amazing insight. It's always great to learn from people in their industries of how they can connect and deepen each other's relationships.
Yes.
People strengthen each other when they connect more deeply. # learning from each other. # marketing wisdom.
That's
how I type every day.
If this is the world, I choose not to vote. I choose not to run.
I don't want to live in this world anymore.
No.
I don't mean that in like a dark way.
No,
I just want this all to change very badly.
I mean, the thing is, you can just turn social off, but guess what? Like, I guess you won't have a career. Unfortunately, for some reason, we believe in our society.
I don't know that that's
true. You
true.
don't have a social presence, at least in certain industries. Like, it's hardly. Yeah. Oh man. No. Think about this. When people go apply for jobs, that you're either getting sorted out by an AI or you're getting you're getting reviewed by your social presence. Like you're screwed if you don't have some sort of visible presence that people can point to and say, this looks interesting.
I don't know. This is the old man yells at cloud version of this section of the podcast. Getting back to the TikTok shop discourse.
I don't think I'm being an old man here. I'm saying you have to.
No, I'm saying we're both collectively being old men.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know. I saw producer Sarah nodding her head as I was talking. So,
well, okay. If I can jump in,
please.
There are gyms in LA that don't let you in if you don't have a certain number of followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So if not in the job space, I think we're seeing it more and more in like day to day. It's the nosedive thing that we talked about.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are called places that I never wanted to be anyway. But
well, I'll say this:
I'm with you, though.
I definitely would love a sine qua non allocation, but you get on their list, you sit there for 10 years, and the only way they're going to pick you is if they see you posting about sine qua non or other incredible wines. So I don't know, man. I just feel like it's not. I don't think it's this old man yell at the world. I think this is literally like, if you don't have some sort of visible presence online, getting a job is hard unless you have some sort of insane personal network. And that is the way to go. Like,
can I look? I'm jumping in here. Hold on, because now I want to fight about this. Hold on.
Yeah, fight. Let's go.
How does that have anything to do with the influencer economy dynamic of TikTok Shop? What does that have anything? Because that seems like a different dynamic altogether.
Simple. We were saying just opt out. And the answer is you can't just opt out if you want to.
You can opt out of this lemon balm tea. You can opt out of this dynamic right here, because I think the earnings.
If you want to use the For You page on Twitter right now, you cannot opt out of being bombarded by bots.
Right,
like,
bots and marketing messages.
Yes,
and right.
It is, and we even pay for Twitter. Like we have the paid version.
By the way, and my gripe about that is the paid version of Twitter was supposed to extend your reach, and my reach has never been worse. Yeah, the greatest reach that I have had in, I'd say, 3 years on Twitter was that I commented a benign comment on Kieran Culkin's Oscar speech. Was it his Oscar speech yesterday? And I was basically front page of Twitter. They say never be the main character. I was dangerously close to being the main character on Twitter yesterday. We might even throw it up. The funniest meme response I have ever seen in my entire life. I responded to somebody who was like talking about a shift of like pronatalism, because Kieran Culkin gets up and he said, like, we might even roll the clip. This would be great. Let's roll the clip, because I don't mind putting myself out there. Like, I was very dangerously close to getting roasted. And by the way, me celebrating having 30 replies should tell you everything you need to know about what a hell site Twitter is right now, because there's like no reach for anyone on Twitter anymore ever. And basically
only slop gets reach.
Setting it up real quick. Kieran Culkin gets up there, basically says, I'm this is such an honor. I'm so glad. Hey, honey, can we have more babies now? Basically,
yeah. You owe me another child.
Yeah, basically. And some, what I can only presume, I don't follow the person who actually posted this, but basically was like, hey, what a turnabout, because, we've seen, many people in the past basically praise their career for, only having the career because of the abortion movement. So this seems like a dramatic shift. And my comment, which I felt like was very benign, was basically, wow, this is a sign of a culture shift. And the funniest response I've ever seen was like a SpongeBob meme of Patrick, and his face is like totally drooped. It's like, and it's basically re-quoting back to me what I just said.
From Patrick's viewpoint.
Signs of a culture shift. I thought that was the funniest thing. And
see, this is why X is still cranking, because there are some real.
That had to be a human. No bot could do that.
Yeah, totally.
Mad respect to whoever did that. Dangerously close to being main character.
You just made my point. TikTok, fewer real people. I mean, there might be real people, but they're literally just mouthpieces for things that are not real.
This is why I really believe that that our thesis that commerce is culture is correct, because the fact is that cultural production is downstream of commercial means and commercial output today, because at scale, cultural production is in the hands of the crowd. It's multiplayer, and most cultural production happens online, and most of that is dictated by dollars that go from companies like Lemon Balm Tea. And most of the social discourse around it
like large scale global village type stuff. And but I also think it applies. I think it also applies within like micro economies as well. So like, regardless if you're like, we're talking about mass production,
if there
or
is
micro
such a thing
production,
anymore. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I think both.
Yeah, for sure.
It applies to both.
Okay, I mean, listen, shout me down in the comments. It's more engagement. Tell me how wrong I am. I'm happy for you to do that too. I've heard it all. There's nothing that can hurt me at this point. I've had everything said to me in the comments. I've heard dollar store John Krasinski, right? I've been told
on that hat. If people are going to comment on anything in the video,
I'm fine with that.
Now it's this hat.
If anything, I've been told I'm a mix between Hank Green and John Krasinski, which that sounds awesome. That sounds like Five Below John Krasinski. I'll take that.
You know what?
Comments on my looks are highly appreciated and always welcome. Thank you.
That's really all people want to comment about. I think I told you my theory about engagement. Basically, there's only two ways that people pay attention to things. It's if they're funny or if they're hot. And that's it. Those are the only two. At this point, I look around and I'm like, that's the only thing that people are paying attention to. It doesn't matter what people are saying.
And we're both. All right. Let's speaking of funny and hot, we are hot off the release of our brand new release over at Future Commerce Plus. Our newest benefit just landed for Future Commerce Plus members. We have our paid membership. You can join the membership at futurecommerce.com/plus. But what do you get? We just added a brand new benefit for any paid member. Any paid member, we have never raised the price on our Plus benefit, but we continue to add value every day. Future Commerce Plus benefits now include this thing called the Word of Mouth Index. And this is specifically for people that are in the e-commerce or retail industry. What we have done is partnered with our friends over at Fairing. Fairing is the number one Shopify and e-commerce post-purchase retail survey app that helps retailers to understand sentiment for, attribution for where customers came from. Like, it asks people at least one question: how did you hear about us? And what they've found is, over the 5 or 6 years that they've been in business and the over 5,000 top Shopify stores and many other enterprises that they work with, is that over and over and over again, the number one predictor for repeat purchase and the number one predictor for satisfaction in that purchase, including things like, propensity to keep the product and not return it, and greatest predictor across all industries for not just repeat purchase, but propensity to convert to subscription, is word of mouth. If you are referred by a friend or a family to the brand by word of mouth, that is the greatest predictor for the success of the brand. And so we have partnered with them to give a full-blown dashboard into their data for the very first time. And that is available right now for any subscriber of Future Commerce Plus. And this is really powerful. I almost can't believe that this is available to all members right now. You can get it if you log into your Future Commerce Plus dashboard. And I'm really proud of the work that Matt has done, our friend there for a very long time, 6-7 years. We go back to the old days of the e-commerce industry, working together in this industry. But seeing what he's built over at Fairing is really, really interesting. Also, they do much more than post-purchase surveys these days, but seeing this data come to life, we'll throw up a little bit of a demo on the YouTube if you want to see what it looks like, but you can also see it right now. We've revised the Future Commerce Plus page by the time this video comes out, futurecommerce.com/plus, and you can see that page in action. It shows you a little bit about what those dashboards look like. Very, very cool. It's updated every month with brand new data on at that month's data, and we also put out a briefing every month for members only on what happened that month in word of mouth data, and that'll come from us and Fairing. So it'll continue to get better every month.
My dad is the highest paid nutritionist in Seattle, and he has said that Future Commerce Plus is the thing that keeps him the fittest.
Yeah. No one believes him when he says that either.
Nobody believes him when he says that Future Commerce Plus keeps him lit.
Yeah. We'd love for you to go join. Just a few other things that you probably already heard it. I'm not sure if there's an ad that rolls. If you did hear it, it's because you're not a member of Future Commerce Plus and you're not on the ad-free version of the podcast. We do have an ad-free feed for people that are members of Future Commerce Plus, but you get lots of other things like discount on print and merch, like the book Lore. You could have gotten a discount on that when it hits broad distribution outside of pre-sales. You're going to get discounts on everything. Priority invites,
saves
divisions.
you money, saves you time, saves you brain, or it saves you attention.
Yeah. And by the way, we have our Visions June event. Our summit is coming up. You're going to get in the door first. Lots of things coming up. Anyway, all that is available at futurecommerce.com/plus. Really excited for word of mouth. Go check out the word of mouth index. Update.
By the way, I have been, if you've been watching the feed, taking sips of Suja, and I paid for my Suja. They did not pay me.
You're not an influencer. You're going to be really jealous. Actually, I spoke at Triple E this past Friday, and they had the head of e-commerce retail at Suja, and the whole family of brands was there. I met her.
What?
She's a wonderful person.
I wish I could have come. I should have come.
You should have come to Miami.
I wish I've never been to Triple E actually, and that makes me sad. Our friends over at Absolute Web do a great job.
They do an amazing job, actually. You should have been there, but it was just off the heels of our eTail event. We were large. We had a very large presence at eTail. Maybe let's run down just a brief recap, because I'd love to.
Future Commerce had 7 sessions at eTail, which is
I think unheard of. Yeah,
I think we had 7 or 8 sessions at eTail Boston last year as well, but this time it was mostly main stage content. And you had an incredible keynote where you actually talked about some things that you hadn't really put into a cohesive talk about, or a talk around before, and
it definitely hasn't been cohesive to this point.
It was definitely more cohesive in your chat, and I thought it was great. I talked about time capsules and what they represent in culture, and the sort of importance of commerce in how we preserve our society and how we want people to view us into the future. Which I think is a really incredible concept.
Thank you. And you yourself, actually, multiple members of the team all participated. Our new director of marketing, Elizabeth Schmidt. She sat with the head of commerce, or the VP of commerce at Faherty, to talk about the work that they're doing at Faherty these days, which is, by the way, Faherty, very big in physical retail and scaling in physical retail.
Super smart.
Very, very large way. And wonderful to see that happening. But give me a little rundown on some of the stuff that you did at eTail, because I know you were really busy.
I was really busy. I feel like I ran around the whole time with no breaks, which was great. Actually, I loved it. Mostly it was just chatting with people. I felt like I couldn't walk from one side of the JW to the other without getting stopped. Ended up getting the meetings on time was really hard, because there's just so many people to chat with that I know from the years of having been there.
You ever do that move where you put your cell phone, fake cell phone, up to your face so that people
Leo
don't bother?
Or whatever, who got called out on that?
Is that Leo? Is that a thing you can do? Is that I feel like that's a social contract. Even if people know that you're doing that on you're faking it, people should just understand that you're doing that because you're in a hurry.
Ooh, that's
no.
I don't know. I would recommend calling somebody
not
for
doing
real.
that.
Just call someone so you can be on the phone with them at minimum. Make it real.
Call someone. Hey, you should just call your wife. Hey, honey, I just need to be on the phone because I can't make it through the JW Marriott lobby without being stopped.
Oh my gosh, the length.
Love you too, honey.
Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
That would be that's a great plot, actually.
It is a good plot, totally. He's trying to get from one side of the room to the other. And
what were some of your sessions, though? What were the things?
I had a great session on the cutting edge of retail experiences. That was with Jeremy Lowenstein from Milani Cosmetics, and we just jammed. It was a great chat. I had someone come up to me afterwards because I actually closed out the whole show with 3 sessions in a row.
Wow.
So I just stayed on the stage for the final 3. What was it? 2 hours of eTail or whatever it was.
How do you do that?
It was interesting. I swung back and forth between topics wildly because my next session was with a couple of venture capitalists about funding and then sustainability to finish the whole thing off. So it was like a bit of a seesaw.
BS bingo.
A little bit of got whipped around on topics. Talking about the multiplayer brand, then dry powder, then sustainable practices in commerce. Good times were had by all. It was a fun, and what's actually probably my favorite thing of the whole event, my favorite chat, was the one we did with Amon at our fireside chat at the official eTail after party with Adobe. That was
unpack that a little bit. What all did we do? Because
fun time.
We've never done anything like that before.
Yeah. So this was a Future Commerce Plus and VIP exclusive event that we did. And we did a little fireside chat literally by a fire in the desert. It was gas, don't worry.
How novel. No one's ever done such a thing.
But we had this incredible, it was you and I kind of just chatted with Amon in front of 20 people, but we opened up the floor for people to just jump in and say something and comment and raise their hand and be involved. And what happened was super cool because I feel like it was an engaged conversation where people we were spurring the conversation, but people were adding their bits along the way, and we were able to respond to them in the moment. And it felt like kind of how the multiplayer brand should operate, almost. You bring a narrative, but you open up space for people to be involved that want to be involved. And then they might have some incredible things that you never thought of before. And we had comments from super cool brands, head of D2C over at Stanley was there. We had Ingrid Cordy, who's a CMO at Higher Dose and has been the co-host of our Infinite Shell podcast for many years. We had just a really interesting Ash McMullen threw in some comments, and Scott Oseman, who's another podcaster, he jumped in there. Just super cool brands, friends that we've had in the industry that were ready to engage and add something, and we all learned and we're better for it by the end of the night. And it was super fun.
I agree. And also, some folks from Ollie, the vitamin company.
A lot of Seattle people in this crowd, actually. Every single person we've mentioned has been from Seattle.
I've heard, file this under the overheard at eTail. I mentioned this on the Senses, which is our biweekly, twice weekly newsletter. A couple things that I heard from the stage I thought were interesting / maybe concerning. A lot of concern around tariffs, as to be expected. We're recording this on March 4th.
Today. Yeah.
That's, the day where, the trade war officially kicked off. There you go. So a lot of concern around that. There's, which I think, to be honest with you, that that's a tremendous amount of conversation around what are brands doing to how are we feeling? A lot of feelings check-in. Feel like we've been doing that for a number of years in the e-commerce ecosystem at every single event. How are we feeling?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were really waiting to see Target earnings. Walmart had its earnings contemporaneous to the event, and the Walmart earnings were stellar, but gave soft guidance going forward. And that was the thing that I think kind of was concerning for a lot of folks.
Yep.
But Target's earnings just came out, and February's not good. And that has nothing to do with tariffs. So, or very little to do with tariffs, I should say. So consumers weakening. I think there's a lot of stuff that's looking a little concerning for a lot of folks in the sector. So that's something we heard a lot at eTail.
Well, hey, Costco's opening a bunch of new stores this year, so
yeah, that's true. VP over at Ollie, not the person who attended our event, but another person on stage, kind of had an offhanded comment, just in passing. It was not the topic of one of the sessions. Something that I noted and was a subject of conversation at our event, at our fireside chat event. Something that kind of kept coming up over and over again was that they are seeing a rise in purchasing from Hispanic customers that were inbound from Amazon DSPs, which are basically Spanish display ads on Amazon. And the thesis is, this is like the working thesis, is that there's fear among the Hispanic community to leave their homes, so they're doing more shopping online. And so there's a lot of folks in the e-commerce ecosystem who are sort of wrestling with, is this an opportunity to move into more Spanish language ad inventory or to test that? And this is one of those this is one of those challenges in the ecosystem is like, is that an opportunity? Right? Is that an opportunity? That
calling that an opportunity feels gross.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a topic of conversation at eTail. And then probably the greatest, Brian, one-liner I've heard in a long time came from Ingrid.
Yes, it was.
Were you there for that? You remember?
Yeah. Oh, I was there for that. You know, it's funny. She came up with that a long time ago. I've heard this one before.
I hadn't heard it before, and it was fantastic. You want to set it up?
Yeah. So she was talking about sort of using user-generated content and like what its role is now today. And she's like, yeah. Back in the day, I used to call it loser-generated content because the fidelity was so bad and the quality was so low. Loser-generated content. I think everybody lost their minds when she said that.
I've never heard that before, but I love it. Loser-generated content, not user-generated content. And that is our eTail wrap-up, but it's a phenomenal segue. Loser-generated content, I think, takes us right to...
Great segue.
Takes us right to the end of the world as we know it. Loser generated content is the end of I think decency in e-commerce advertising, because AI is allowing the losers to generate content at scale. Here's an ad that we ran across that's making the viral rounds. It's creating more division. It's always a Saturday. There's always a Saturday where this crap goes viral on DTC Twitter.
That's why I miss it. I'm like,
because you're not online on Saturday.
I full Luddite it when I'm on the weekend.
I'm busy making landing pages for our word of mouth index page, so I've got nothing better to do than be on Twitter. Let's play. How long is this thing?
Not long.
It's like a minute,
40 seconds, 45.
You know what? Hang in for the whole thing, because you gotta have the whole experience. Let's roll the whole ad. Why not?
It gives you space to throw up.
Yeah, play it.
I spent 5 years as the hidden mistress of a Qatar prince. The rules I had to follow still make me question everything. I was required to do facial massages every night to sculpt my cheekbones and jawline. He said natural beauty should always be refined. I had to have my nails painted every 4 days, even if I never left the house. He believed a woman's hands should always look soft and elegant. Before every public event, a team of stylists flew in to perfect my hair and makeup. He said a woman of his should never be seen without perfection. I wasn't allowed to wear jewelry that wasn't custom made for me. He said a woman like me should never wear something another could own. My hair was washed with pearl-infused shampoos made exclusively for me. He said beauty should never come from the same bottles as everyone else. He said no one is jealous of chubby women, so he gifted me Obvi Collagenic Elite so I could lose weight effortlessly. I lost 13 pounds without working out, and now when I walk into a room, every woman stares in envy while men can't look away from me. Do you think this was worth it?
Wow.
Can I?
Does Obvi think that the lawsuit's worth it?
Well, is there a lawsuit yet?
Not yet. Barry Hot.
Feel good.
Barry Hot posted on X, one of the last real people on the platform, sort of coming out against this and a number of other folks.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of real people left.
There's no one left for this.
Just don't follow. Just don't go to the For You page. That's all there is to
it. He posted. We'll link this in the show notes. And I'll basically read his take. I really like this, and I'll read a couple of the comments because that's content in 2025. Is me reading tweets to you. Here we go.
Now we're talking old man here.
Basically, this is. He says this is how to deceive consumers, violate FTC laws, and get sued like crazy with one TikTok. Everything is illegal. The fake story from a fake AI person, the misleading claims, and the undisclosed affiliate link. This 30-second lawsuit magnet took 15 minutes to make and could generate 10 million plus misled consumers, a minimum 6 figures in fines, $50,000 in FTC fines per violation, class action lawsuits for misled buyers, 6 figures in legal fees trying to explain why it's, quote, just a joke. If you're really lucky, maybe even a federal wire fraud charge if the DOJ decides to make an example out of you, and up to 20 years in prison. I hope that, quote, 5-figure revenue was worth it because your 6 or 7 figures of fines and legal bills are coming fast. Now, this is all due to, this comes back to the source of this video, which was a brag post from the AI ad creation platform Arcads. Now, Arcads made the rounds last year. Okay, so let's give credit where credit's due, because Obvi did not post this video bragging about their ad. Arcads, the AI video creation platform that uses that does sort of fake AI influencer ads, which is this. If you've seen them before, then you recognize this fake AI influencer, both the face and the voice.
It's like all the ads everywhere now.
All of them. You've seen them before. And the one that made the rounds last year that went like mega viral was a woman in her car.
Yeah.
And we covered that extensively, I think, both on the podcast and in the newsletter, as sort of like the tip of the spear. That was also generated by Arcads. This was a brag post about the efficacy of a 14 million view TikTok that generated 5 figures of revenue from one post. So that is how we got here. Okay. And Barry Hot is an independent performance media agency consultant who deals with these sorts of legalities and issues all the time. And he has nothing to do with either of them. He's commentating on something that's happening in the space. And I support him speaking out against both the brand Obvi and the AI platform Arcads and this whole hubbub. I think all of it's very gross and ick, but also the sign of the times and probably the future of everything. And that's why I hate it here. Brian.
Yeah. 14 million views.
Yeah.
5 figures of revenue.
That's kind of everything. That's how everything goes nowadays.
So basically, if you see mass attention on something, you know it's probably bots, because you can't, like, the conversion rate on this is so low. It's the lowest I've ever heard. It's like terrible.
It's an organic post. It's not. This is not an affiliate post.
Right.
This is an organic post that did 5
that
figures of revenue
that we know.
On
so
a $30 AOV product. That's not. That's it takes a quote unquote 15 minutes to produce. Here's the issue. There's a lot of things that it's a brave new world.
Mm-hmm.
An AI cannot give a product review because they never bought anything, right? There's no disclaimer or disclosure.
Oh, it's a disaster. Like, and I think that there's rules about this now regarding reviews. Like, it's they just past this past year, we covered it, I believe, in the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the problem. This is the gray hat area between scamming and, I mean, it's a scam, actually. You know what? This isn't gray hat. This is just full on black hat behavior. Whether it's by the AI company ArcAds or it's by Obvi and Obvi paid them to make this, it doesn't matter. Like, someone's done something illegal here.
I think the implication here is that Obvi made the ad using ArcAds. And by the way, I've seen lots of Obvi ads. Obvi makes a lot of AI ads that position themselves against, Ozempic a lot. And they use a lot of like fear tactics. And they use a lot of like, generally their marketing in general is fear-based and icky. This crosses a big line for me in a lot of ways that I think I shouldn't even have to explain.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't even have to explain it. And by the way, Rob Freund, friend of the podcast, says, gives a legal basis for this by the FTC endorsement guidelines. He says, it's illegal to use endorsements in advertising that do not reflect the actual experience of the person making the endorsement. This is related to compliance with Section 5 of the FTC Act and the FTC endorsement guidelines. If my doctor friend recommends a skin cream that I haven't, if I say that my doctor friend recommends a skin cream that I haven't actually used, then there are multiple problems with that piece of sponsored content from the jump, and brands get in trouble for this all the time. And the law does not distinguish between real people and AI creators in this context. So AI creators can't truthfully convey experiences with a product. And that hasn't actually been tried yet, but I have to believe that we'll see that any day. I don't know. Maybe in this administration that's just launched, an AI scam, maybe, or a crypto scam, maybe that doesn't happen. And maybe that's just like, that's the end of the world as we know it.
Just sits out there and nothing happens about it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, this to me feels very much in line with my dad is the highest paid nutritionist content. Even though it's not actually one's AI and one's not AI. It's deception. Like,
yeah,
I think both instances should be illegal.
Yeah.
And this is just content that we see on Twitter now. This is all that we, and TikTok. It has taken over the for yous of all of our feeds. Like, all of the stuff that's being fed to us algorithmically is all trash.
It doesn't have to be that way. I think we can curate the algorithm a little bit better. I think that the social feed can be curated for a different kind of content. I think inherently,
you put a lot of time into curating your algorithmic feeds, like a lot.
Yeah, but I like
more care than most.
I have a really great, like, my Reddit's really great, my Instagram's really great. Twitter is a hell site. Right. Okay, enough of that. You know who has a really great take on this that has a really existential dread quality to it, but I think actually is directionally correct, is our friend Alex Greifeld. She wrote a piece about this called The End of Outside that you should read. It conveniently is on Future Commerce, and it is totally free to read. You should read it because it tells you why an ad like this will become more commonplace, and this is a taste of what's to come in the future. She had an amazing take on this in particular. She said, this ad in particular, quoted here, I'll drop it so that we can we can throw this up on the screen inevitably when we have to put this on our YouTube. She said, this ad, this is what she's referring to, is why I prefer to think of marketing as a long-term multi-round game, because if you choose to think of it as a short-term one-round game, then you're competing against people who are willing to lie and break the law. And if you think of business, and if you think of marketing in particular as having to last for a really long time, right, then eventually you can outlast people who will probably go to jail.
Which means you're going to not be able to capture all the demand. You're going to take them on the chin sometimes. Like
That's right.
Someone like this is going to step in, capture 5 figures in a moment, and you're going to capture way more if you don't play the games that are being played. I love Alex's take. I love not chasing quarterly results. Like, play the long game and build a brand that's made for the next 50 years, and don't just chase the fads of the moment.
That means that certain capital models are not accessible for certain kinds of brands at certain pieces of time. It means that's saying a lot, Brian. That's kind of it for the show. I'd love to know what you guys think about this whole hubbub. Is this the end of the world as we know it? Let us know. I think it is, but I want to know what you think. Because maybe you have a better take, but I'd love for you to lend your voice to the conversation. Thanks for watching this episode of Future Commerce. If you're not subscribed, please do so. It takes very little time to do so. You can get more episodes of this podcast and all Future Commerce properties at futurecommerce.com. And if this conversation sparks something for you, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Go subscribe. We're building a community on YouTube. Get engaged over there. When you do subscribe, it helps more people join the conversation. And if you want to bring Future Commerce into your world, do that with our brand new book. It's called Lore. Check out our print shop at futurecommerce.com. And you can get everything that is fit for print at shop.futurecommerce.com. It's where commerce meets culture, and our beautifully crafted zines, journals, and other collectibles like t-shirts and merch. And remember, commerce shapes the future because commerce is culture. We'll see you next time.